Hey everyone, it's Seeker, and welcome back to the second episode in a video series where we are going through a bunch of old coins in a bag, mostly silver. We had a bunch of Liberty nickels that we went through in the last series, as well as Peace dollars and Morgans, and we had that one seeded Liberty quarter. If you haven't seen that yet, check out the link in the description. I also put a card on the video about right now. You'll be able to click. But let's get into it, guys. So next up, we do have our half dollars. So the first three we have here are Walkers. We have ourselves a 1937. It's definitely got some circulation and some problems. We have a 1943 and a 44. I do believe the 44 is a D mint mark. That is correct. The other two are Ps. These are all common. They're all heavily circulated. There's really not much to say about these. We're just going to put them into a pile of constitutional silver because that's what we're going to consider them, is just to be silver coinage with a weight of 0.715 ounces per dollar. Now with these, we do have a couple of Benjis that are in a little bit more decent shape condition-wise. So we do have a 1950 here on top. It is a 50p. If we look at the reverse of it, it looks almost like it's going to be an AU, but we're going to take a look at it under a scope just to be sure. And, you know, we'll see what that one looks like. Here we do got a 1953D. Now, the 53D is definitely the most common of the 53s. And this one does have a lot of problems that we will check out under the scope. And then we have right here, guys, this is a 58D, and this, it's just circulation. That is definitely your constitutional silver. Let's go ahead and get over to the scope, though. We're going to start with the 1950. So we'll put the 1950 on a scope, and we will just use the coin arrow to show you what we're looking at. So we are looking at rub and circulation wear. As you can see right here, we do have a little bit of wear right there. Now, I'm not looking at the discoloration there because obviously that is a higher point where the coin wore a bit. But you can actually see that it's flat there as well. You got a little bit of wear up around here. And obviously the cheek and other high points of the coin, including right here, all have a little bit of wear on them. Now, the front of the coin looks like it's about an AU. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the back really quick, or the reverse of the coin. So the reverse of the coin tells a different story. There is a lot more circulation right here. You can just see the flatness and the lettering on the bell. And you can see a lot of flatness down in here by the bell lines, which really, unfortunately, leads me to believe that this is more of an XF. So with the back of this being as worn as it is, the front of it being an AU really isn't going to help the fact that this isn't going to be above an XF. Now, if this coin were, a better date, we might want to keep it. But at XF, once it's below AU, it's not something that I'm really interested in hanging on to. So we're going to go ahead and pass on that. Okay, so the next one we have here, guys, this is our 1953. Now, look at this. There's a lot of black going on here. And what this goes to show me is this is probably stored in like one of those $4, folders where you push the coin into it. And, it probably sat in moisture, someone's collection, probably not in the driest place for a long time. And unfortunately, that's just caused it to get all this stuff on the coin. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to really get rid of this without completely destroying the coin. So, unfortunately, in my opinion, this coin is a lost cause. And that is unfortunate because if you look here, you can actually see that this coin is roughly about an AU. You do have a little bit of rub right here around the center or the high part of the lettering on the back of the bell. But that is it. Very little. And a little bit of rub down here, but you can still see the bell lines. So, guys, unfortunately, without that, this would actually have been a decent coin to keep. But because of that, we are also going to just throw this in the constitutional silver pile. Alrighty, guys, the next thing we're going to look at, sticking with half dollars, we do have our barbers. So we have 1914, 1892, and 1907. So with these, the first thing you really want to look for is if you can read the word Liberty on the headband. And I will tell you just at first glance that is not happening on any of these coins. Now, with the dates, all of your barbers that are at least VG are definitely worth keeping. You don't want to just make them constitutional coinage. This one here is a 1914S. Let's get the scope open. Take a look at this 14S under the scope. So you can see, other than the fact that it just has regular circulation wear, there's really no problems on the front of this coin. The rim looks nice. All the dentals are here around the outside. The stars look good. You don't see any major gashes or gouges or scratches. If we look at the reverse of this, you can see that is an S. So it is a 1914 S right there. You got a little bit going on here with the left claw. But other than that, everything looks pretty decent. So let's go ahead and get the guide out and see what we got. Okay, so our 1914S had a mintage of 992,000. At G4, the Red Book puts it at 16 at VG20. Guys, I hate to tell you, this coin is not going above a VG without being able to read the word Liberty. So this is between a $15 and $20 coin according to the Red Book. Let's check out the CPG and see what the CPG has to say, though. Okay, the CPG, we're looking at the 1914S and the CPG. And the CPG is pretty much the same. You got 15 at G4, 18 at VG8. So a little bit more in line with current values, but, you know, nothing really majorly different. So, guys, this is roughly about a $15 barber. So we're going to go ahead and put that in a 2x2. Now, the next one we're going to look at, guys, is the 1907. This one, same thing. I mean, you know, it looks fine. On the front, there are a couple of scratches going along the back of the head. Oh, yeah. Now that we have it under the scope, they look a lot worse. So, guys, this, unfortunately, I mean, it's a barber, so I'm not going to throw it in with your typical constitutional coinage because it is a barber. But I think we're just going to call this one lights out. So we got a 1907D. If we look at the Red Book really fast, 1907D has a mintage of 3.856 million, 16 at G4, 17 at VG8 according to the Red Book. So nothing special. We're not going to 2x2 this one, but we're not going to put it in with the Constitutional as well. We'll probably just throw this in a flip and keep it with other barbers. Alrighty, guys. The next one we have, this is the 1892 barber. This is the first year, which is really cool. It is, again, it's about a VG. You can't read Liberty at all. There's no mint mark, so it's an 1892P. Okay, looking at it under the scope, there's no major issues, no major gouges or scratches or flaws or anything like that. You know, it looks pretty well worn, you know, just a regular circulated coinage from 1892. Looking at the reverse, you can see we have roughly the same thing going on. There's a little nick right here on the rim, but that I don't think is going to take away from the fact that I think this is a VG coin. So you can read most of E Pluribus Unum as well, which is nice. So yeah, it's just this is an 1892 VG barber $50, which is awesome. If we get out the Red Book, they minted 934,000 of them. At G4, this has a value of 27. At VG8, 35. We are going to pull out the CPG and take a look because I consider this to be much more accurate. If you guys didn't see my video about the CPG versus the Red Book versus the Gray Sheet, you should definitely check it out. 1892 at G4, we got 26. At VG, we got 31. Guys, we're going to go ahead and call this a $30 $50. So we're going to put this in a 2x2 as well, and that will take care of our barbers. Okay, guys, the next thing we're going to be looking at is the barber dimes. So we have an 1898 O, which I do believe is slightly better. We have a 1900. We have an 1897. We have a 1906 and a 1912. Now, I can tell you at first glance that these four right here are just Constitutional Silver. They're worn flat completely. So we're just going to throw those in the Constitutional Silver pie right off the bat. But we are going to take a look at this 1898 because if this is at least a VG, it could be worth a little bit more. So let's get to the scope. Well, that pretty much settles that, guys. This is not a VG. You can see that the rim is almost completely worn away, especially right here where it's completely gone. If we look at the reverse, let's take a look. Yep, unfortunately, you can see kind of in the same position on the opposite side. You have the warrior right here, really strong, actually going into the wreath on the back. It is a slightly better date coin, though, so it would make a good hole filler if you were looking for this coin in particular. 1898 O has a pretty low mintage. We'll go ahead and put this one in a flip. We're not going to throw it in a 2x2, but at the same time, we're not going to consider it to be constitutional coinage either. So let's go ahead and do it like that. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a 2x2. We're going to call it a G4. It is not a VG even, but we're going to go ahead and put it in a 2x2 regardless. And we're going to put G4 on the 2x2 because that's what this is. We got 1898 O, 1898 O at G4. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, next up we have ourselves another dime. We have a 1923 Mercury dime, well, that was quick. There's some constitutional silver. That one is heavily circulated. And finally, in the dimes, we have this. This is an 1834 capped bust dime. Yes, looks to be in pretty decent shape. Let's take a look at it under the scope. We also want to see if it's the large 4 or the small 4 variety. So let's get to it. And I just realized as I was 2x2ing that 18980 is also showing under the coin scope. I guess my coin scope disconnected for a second, but we have it back. Anyway, we're looking at this 1834 bust dime. Okay, guys, now this bust dime I'm actually pretty excited about because it is actually in pretty good condition. It looks flat, but believe it or not, this is pretty typical for this coin. We have the high majority of the rim still showing on the obverse. We can read all of Liberty, albeit we are missing a little bit of the bottom of the L. We're missing the serif on the bottom of the R, but we can still read it. You can still see part of the ear, and you can almost see the shoulder clasp right there. So actually, this is almost a fine. If we take a look at the reverse, and I know you're saying fine with part of the rim missing, no way. But yeah, guys, I mean, look, you can still see Unum on the back. This is borderline fine / VG. You have this one little rim ding right here, but for this coin, the way that this coin wears so quickly on these points, this actually looks to almost be a fine. So when you get this coin graded, if I were to get it graded, it would really, really be borderline. I guess it depends on, which side of the bed they woke up on that morning when they grade this coin. So what we're going to do with this, guys, is we're certainly going to put this in a 2x2, but let's go ahead and grab the red book. We're going to look at the mintage and the value of the red book and what the CPG says as well. But before we do that, I totally forgot to take a look and see which one this is. So I'm taking a look at a sheet just showing the difference between the small and the large 4, and this does appear to be the small 4 variety. So now we know. It is the small 4 variety. Now let's switch over and take a look at this in the red book. Okay, guys, so the 1834, they minted 635,000 of them. I know you can't see the book, but I'm reading it to you. The 1834 small 4 and large 4 actually have the same exact value up until you hit uncirculated. So it doesn't really matter which variety it is, although we do have the small 4. And it is between $35 and $45. Depending on if it's VG or fine, according to the red book. So, to be honest with you, not something I would spend my money to have graded, but it's still really, really cool. So, if we look at 1834 bust dimes right here, small 4, the CPG actually puts this at between $49 at VG and $55 at fine. So, we're going to call this about a $50 coin. Let's go ahead and put this one in a 2x2. We're going to mark it VG plus. So I'm going to put VG plus on it because I'm not 100% convinced it's a fine, but it's definitely a very high-end VG. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's it for part 2 of going through this bag of silver coins. So stick with us because in part 3, we're going to finish the rest of the bag and we'll have a recap of everything we found. So thank you so much, guys. Check out the videos over there and subscribe above us and check out Cool Stacks. We will see you soon.